Good morning, everyone. I'm Paul Smedberg, Chair of the WMATA Board. Thank you for being with us today for our Board of Directors meeting. Before we begin, I'd like to ask Ms. Ellison, Board Corporate Secretary, to please call the roll. Ms. Ellison.
Okay, this is for the Executive Committee public session. Chair Smedberg.
Present.
Alternate Director Zappi.
Present.
Director Klein. Director Klein.
Present.
Director Letourneau.
Present.
Director Lowe.
Present.
Director Drummer.
Present.
Director Martin Proctor.
Good morning.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, you have a quorum. Do you want to turn it over to the safety contact next?
Yep. Since this is our first meeting of the morning, we'll turn it over to Ms. Empisato, our Chief Safety Officer, for our safety contact. Ms. Empisato.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. By being alert and reporting suspicious activity to law enforcement or a Metro employee, you can protect your family and other riders. As you're going about your trip, if you see something that doesn't quite seem right, say something. Suspicious items or objects should be reported as what and where they are. If you aren't sure of what an object is, describe its characteristics, size, color, and material. Describe why you believe it is suspicious and provide any other immediate details relevant to the object. Additionally, observed suspicious behavior needs to be avoided first and then reported. Leave the area and report it as soon as you can. Always include the time and the location. Prioritize your personal safety. You may want to write down what you saw to ensure details. In an emergency, call 911 or 202-962-2121. You can send a text message to the Metro Transit Police at MyMTPD. QR codes are on Metro posters to allow you to text MTPD directly. When using Metro Rail, call boxes on each rail car enable any rider to report an emergency to the train operator, who remains in constant radio communication with our central control. In case of threatening or disruptive behavior aboard a Metro bus, the operator can activate a silent alarm that goes through our central control to the police department. When the alarm is activated, the destination sign on most buses automatically changes to emergency, call police, and the outside running lights flash to let approaching police know which bus sent out the alarm. For additional information on keeping yourself and your family safe, see the rider guide at wmata.com. This concludes our safety contact.
Thank you, Ms. Empisato. Appreciate that. So thank you. Now, since this is the first public meeting, we've already taken the roll. We have approval of the agenda for the meeting today. If there are no objections, we'll consider the agenda approved as presented. Are there any objections from a committee member? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. Next, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes. We have 3 sets of minutes: our April 28th meeting and our executive sessions of April 28th and May 3rd before us for approval. Are there any objections or comments to the minutes as presented? Hearing none, we'll consider the minutes approved as presented. We have one action item this morning, that is the acceptance of an IG report. Under the board's bylaws, the executive committee is responsible for reviewing and accepting the reports from the Inspector General. The committee has received the following report: Special Project Report, Station Cleaning Inspection. Before we take a vote, Mr. Fabus, our acting IG, would like to provide the committee with some highlights of that report. Good morning, Mr.
Thank you, sir, and good morning to you and members of the committee. OIG performed site inspections of 19 Metro Rail stations and associated bus loops, bus shelters, and parking garages. We determined that the overall appearance of the stations was positive at the time of inspection. There were some areas that could be improved. OIG provided 13 observations in our report that were all agreed upon by management. Management has taken or plans to take the necessary corrective actions. OIG also identified some potential safety and physical security concerns. With respect to the safety concerns, management assessed the safety impact of each and determined appropriate actions to be taken. With respect to the physical security concerns, those concerns were resolved and management issued a safety bulletin on April 11th, 2022. That concludes my presentation, and if there are any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Feblis. Any questions first from committee members? Seeing none, anyone, any other questions or comments from anyone else? All right, Mr. Feblis, thank you to you and your team for this. I mean, important, obviously, for safety matters, not only for our workers, but more importantly for our riders. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Acceptance of this report constitutes the board's authorization to post it on the WMATA website, provided that the Inspector General has conferred with the General Counsel and confirmed that any private or confidential information has been removed and or redacted in accordance with applicable law and WMATA policy. I would like to move approval of this item. Is there a second from a committee member?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Zappi. Ms. Ellison, please call the roll or a vote.
Thank you. Chair Smedberg,
Aye.
Mr. Zappi,
Aye.
Ms. Klein,
Did you get that? Aye.
I did now. Thank you. Mr. Chair, the motion passes.
Thank you, Ms. Ellison. So the report has been accepted and the Inspector General has been authorized to post it online. Since there is no further business to come before the committee this morning, we will stand adjourned, and now we'll begin the Board of Directors meeting. Good morning again. I'm Paul Smedberg, Chair of the WMATA Board, and thank you for being here today for our Board of Directors meeting. Before we begin, I'd like to ask Ms. Ellison, the Board Corporate Secretary, to please call the roll. Ms. Ellison.
Chair Smedberg,
Present.
Alternate Director Zappi,
Present.
Director Klein,
Present.
Director Letourneau,
Present.
Director Lowe,
Present.
Director Dromer,
Present.
Director Martin Proctor.
Good morning.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ellison. Now we'll move on to the approval of the agenda. First, we have approval of the agenda. If there are no objections, I'll consider the agenda approved as presented. Does anyone have any objections to the agenda as presented? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. Approval of the minutes. We have 6 sets of minutes for approval this morning. Board meetings from April 28, 2022 and May 12, 2022, and executive sessions from April 28th, May 4th, May 12th, and May 16th of calendar year 2022. I'd like to consider these minutes approved as presented. Are there any objections or comments to any of those sets of minutes? Hearing none, the minutes are approved as presented. Thank you. Public comment. Now we'll move on to the reports from our advisory boards. First, we'll hear from our customers and stakeholders. I'd like to ask staff to please play the comments as they've been submitted.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Mr. Pasek.
Thank you. We have 4 public comments today. The first from Tina Tennyson of the District of Columbia. I'm a district resident in Ward 8 and a parent of 2 children under 12, one with asthma. We regularly see buses spewing dark black exhaust fumes in our neighborhood and around the metro area. My kids already feel the stress of the climate legacy we are leaving them, and these buses are a daily reminder. They have asked me to report every super polluter bus we see, but there are too many. Here is a recent video my daughter took on the 11th Street Bridge by Navy Yard. We'll post the video online. Please do everything in your power to expedite the electrification timeline and commit to the recent recommendations of the Metro Electric Bus Coalition and the DC Council's, quote, sense of the council, urging WMATA's bus fleet electrification resolution. As we work towards electrification, please pull any super polluter buses from the fleet. As we head into the summer months and air quality drops, we will all benefit if these are off the streets. Thank you for your public service, and please act with the urgency that our kids and future generations deserve. This is our problem to fix, not theirs. If there is something that local residents can do to help, we will step up. Next comment is from Elena Gaona of the District of Columbia. We need better air quality in our city, especially our part of town in Northeast. Please do everything in your power to expedite the electrification timeline and commit to the recent recommendations of the Metro Electric Bus Coalition and the DC Council's Sense of the Council, urging WMATA's bus fleet electrification resolution. Next comment is from Wyatt Mintz of Arlington County. This is concerning bus 38B towards Ballston during peak afternoon commuting time of 5 p.m. From Georgetown, there always seem to be 3 Friendship Heights buses that arrive before the 38B to Ballston, which results in crowding on the 38B. Is it feasible to add an additional 38B to Ballston and remove 1 Friendship Heights bus? Final comment today comes from Matt Dickerson from the District of Columbia. The board needs to stand up and do their jobs. Take responsibility for the poor performance of the Metro Rail system. We, the public, see the manifestation of their apathy towards their positions. Look at yourself. If you don't want this position, resign now. That concludes our public comments.
Thank you, Mr. Pasek, and thank you to everyone who submitted their comments this morning. Now we'll move on to the advisory boards. First up, Mr. Posner, the Accessibility Advisory Committee. Good morning, Phil.
Good morning, Paul. May has been exciting with the hiring of Mr. Clark as the next CEO, General Manager, and the early resignations of Mr. Wiedefeld and Mr. Leader, while WMATA dealt with safety and training issues in its work to return to normal. During this time, the AEC continued working with staff on wayfinding with the WayMap wayfinding system in Crystal City, Brookland, Silver Spring, and Braddock Road, and testing the new farebox equipment for the bus fleet, as well as follow up on the development of new floating bus stops and traffic patterns in the jurisdictions. The AAC had hoped to thank Mr. Wiedefeld and Mr. Leader in person for all they have done to make travel on bus, rail, and metro access more accessible for our constituents, as well as all riders. To spotlight a few of their achievements working with us and accessibility staff, the improvement in signage, announcements, platform repair, tactile alerts in the stations, elevator and escalator performance, fare gate and fare box improvements, as well as positive modifications to metro access service during the pandemic. As we move into summer and head towards September, we hope that Mr. Smedberg, you, Mr. Off, our interim general manager, Mr. Haas, our interim operations chief, and Mr. Clark will find time to visit with the AAC during the coming transition in management to tell us how we, the AAC, and our constituents can help with a smooth, safe, accessible, sustainable transition back to normal. Thank you so much for listening, and have a wonderful Memorial Day and a great month of June and beyond. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Phil. And that's a nice reminder. It is time for my annual visit. So,
yes, it is.
All right. Thanks so much. Any questions for Mr. Posner?
And actually, Mr. Off has also said he'd stop by in our first June meeting. So having both of you would be wonderful.
All right. Well, I'm sure you definitely will. So, all right. Take care now. Next, we'll hear from the Riders Advisory Council, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you so much, Chairman Smedberg and fellow members of the Board of Directors for having me this morning. Just 3 areas to talk about. The first is going to be our recruitment for the Riders Advisory Council. For a number of reasons, we've had some vacancies that need to be filled through the 3 jurisdictions, Virginia, Maryland, and of course the District of Columbia. And so the past several weeks, we have been receiving applications, reviewing them, interviewing them. And I'd just like to thank our board liaison, Bryna Helfer, and John Pasek for helping navigate that process and moving it forward. And furthermore, I'd like to thank alternate directors Aguirre and Zappi as well for helping us, talk to potential applicants. And we're looking forward to presenting that slate of Riders Advisory Council members to the board for approval and ultimately getting them onboarded and ready to help serve the various riders across the system to help advocate for riders. So that's very exciting. The second thing is in our May meeting, we had staff members from the communications team come and speak to the Riders Advisory Council about the Orange Line Platform Improvement Project. And we were pretty impressed with both the outreach that has been taken to communicate what changes are happening, as well as the actual project itself. As we know that this is, the platform improvement projects happen all the time, especially over the past several years. And we're looking forward to these, I think it's 5 stations being serviced, and a lot of the improvements are much needed. One of the things that did come up that was of conversation that we think that the Metro staff should pay particular focus to is the service to lines that aren't actually being under construction. So namely the blue and silver from Stadium Armory to Benning Road, as well as Orange Line only running from Vienna to Ballston on the weekends. We think that there could still be some further efforts to communicate those service changes to our riders and alternatives if needed. And then our last thing is we would just like to congratulate the board of directors for their successful recruitment of Randy Clark to be the next general manager of WMATA. We're looking forward to working with him to help bring great service to the Metro system and help represent the riders. And we're looking forward to him starting later this summer. In the meantime, we'd just like to offer our support and assistance to Andrew Off, the interim general manager, as we make this smooth transition to a new GM. And lastly, I'd just like to do a shout out to the WMATA Police Department. I was walking by the Clarendon station yesterday and noticed that they were out front tabling to communicate with the public about Metro Rail late night safety tips and travel tips, and basically just serving as a resource to the general public about what they do. I even got my little late night tip kind of cheat sheet. So just shout out to them and all that they do to keep our Metro system safe and secure. Thank you so much, Chairman Smedberg, and I hope everyone also has a great Memorial Day weekend.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Any questions for Mr. Mayor? All right. Morning, Brian. Next, we'll move on to the report by the chair. And Brian, you'll be interested to hear this. I'm pleased to report that our Riders Advisory Council recruitment has been a success. The appointments being put forward today will fill vacancies that will bring the RAC back to its full 11-member strength and reappoint 1 member to a second term. Metro received and reviewed approximately 60 applications for the 5 open seats on the council and interviewed 15 members as part of that process. Members were selected with an eye toward helping the RAC broaden its outreach as part of its core mission of providing recommendations to the board. The appointees are not only passionate about helping Metro improve, they also have deep links within the community that will help them inform their work and recommendations. I'd like to thank alternate director and the RAC liaison to the board, Bryna Helfer, for her work with the RAC, including spearheading the recruitment and selection process, as well as alternate directors Kanik Aguirre and Christopher Zappi. The RAC's chair, Brian Mayer, and the RAC's staff liaison, Deputy Board Secretary John Pasek, for participating in the interviews. I'd like to move approval of the following appointments. And I apologize ahead of time if I mispronounce anyone's name. Appointing Cole Stout and Emma Wormser, representing the District of Columbia with terms to expire in December of 2023. Appointing Jose Del Cid, representing the Commonwealth of Virginia with a term to expire December 2023. Appointing Mayala Fernando, representing the state of Maryland with a term to expire in December 2022. And appointing Marcela Moreno and reappointing Daryl Brewer as at-large members with terms to expire in the month December 2023. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dr. Lowe. This item has been moved and second. Is there any discussion? Brian, I'll give you an opportunity to comment, given you've been involved in this. I mean, I'm sure you've obviously talked to all these folks, so I hope you're excited about their appointments, obviously.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
The conversations that we had with them gave us the impression that they're not only passionate about the metro system and the service that it provides, but more importantly, how to work with important stakeholders, the board, the staff, and the general public about how to move forward with productive solutions. And so we're really looking forward to having a fully staffed council, and especially to get ready for our new fiscal year about to start. So,
yeah, amazing. That's coming up again already. All right. So with no further discussion, Ms. Ellison, please administer the vote.
Thank you. Chair Smedberg?
Aye.
Mr. Zappi?
Aye.
Ms. Klein?
Aye.
Mr. Letourneau?
Aye.
Dr. Lowe?
Aye.
Mr. Drummer?
Aye.
Ms. Martin Proctor? Ms. Martin Proctor? Mr. Chair, the motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And congratulations to all the new RAC members. We look forward to your participation. And finally, next week, I've been asked to testify on behalf of the board at the briefing before the House, or the Maryland House Appropriations Committee, Transportation and Environmental Subcommittee regarding Metro's oversight and governance. As background, the WMATA board provides critical oversight of and direction to the Chief Executive Officer and management regarding accountability from the GM and his team. We also ensure that we represent the interests of each jurisdictional partner and people who live in the region. Each board member takes his or her responsibility seriously and works closely with staff to ensure that we have the information and resources available to support our decision making. The board is proud of the oversight we have provided thus far, and resulting in many safety accomplishments over the last several years, including the overhaul of the Rail Operations Control Center, or ROC, support of the Comprehensive Safety Management System plan led by WMATA's Chief Safety Officer, and continual monitoring of the corrective action plans needed to address safety issues. The board and Metro also welcome the oversight provided by the Federal Transit Administration, Metro's Inspector General, and our congressional delegation. We have also worked to develop a collaborative relationship with the Washington Metro Rail Safety Commission to support their critical oversight. In addition, the board provided leadership and guidance through the pandemic, including addressing the financial well-being of Metro and preparing to support the region's recovery. I look forward to sharing this and much more information next week at the hearing. That concludes my report, and now I'll turn the floor over to Interim General Manager Andy Off for his report. And before I do, I'd really like to say on behalf of the board, the comments I've received, Mr. Off, thank you so much for the work over the last week. We know, it was a challenging time, but you really have stepped up to the plate. We'd also like to mention Ms. Empasado, the Chief Safety Officer, and others too that have really helped provided a smooth transition of leadership here, at least in the interim until Mr. Clark arrives. So thank you for all you've done for us on our behalf this last week, Andy.
No, and thank you, sir. Clearly an honor for me, and I do appreciate your and the board support. With that, good morning, Mr. Chairman, board members, and certainly members of the community who are listening today. Before I get into my official remarks, I did want to address Mr. Posner. Yesterday, it is confirmed I will be attending the AAC meeting on Monday, June 6th at 5:30. So I certainly look forward to meeting you personally and your team. And then also to Mr. Meyer, congratulations on your appointment. And as a Huntington rider myself, I also had the opportunity to engage our police officers as they were also, at the same time handing out materials to assist our customers to more safely navigate our system. So thank you and look forward to working with both of you gentlemen in the future. As this is my first board meeting as interim general manager and chief executive officer, I figured a brief introduction was appropriate. My name is Andy Off. I've lived in the region for 20 years. I'm a yellow line rider. I've worked at Metro for about 10 years. I came in 2012 through 2018. I departed for about 2 years and came back in 2020 right after the pandemic started. And prior to my recent assignment, I served as the Executive Vice President for Capital Delivery. And as I noted, I am truly honored, by the board's confidence in me to lead the team as we transition to our next general manager, Mr. Randy Clark, who will be coming later this summer. Certainly over my time at Metro, I've come to know the system well, including many of our employees who strive to provide customers with the best and safest public transportation in the nation. Certainly, from my perspective, interim does not mean hover. We have many challenges that we need to address immediately, and I absolutely appreciate the board and the team's support to get after those things. In the short term, our focus is going to be on getting our operations house in order, most notably addressing the issues that have been noted with train operator certification and power desk operations. And then also getting after the 7000 series return to service plan to better increase frequency on the system for our customers, and then getting Silverline Phase 2 across the finish line. Last week, I asked Senior Vice President of Rail Services, Mike Haas, to step up and serve as interim Chief Operating Officer. Mike will be critical to addressing all of the initiatives I just mentioned. Mike is a dedicated leader, well respected throughout the organization, and I appreciate his support during this time of transition. Looking at an operations update, I'm proud to report that in terms of getting our train operators certified within about the past 2 weeks, as of yesterday, we have certified 45 of the 72 operators that we fell behind on. Because of that effort, we were able to return green and yellow line service to every 15 minutes, which I, certainly appreciate. It has made a difference. And certainly this is good news as we see our customers taking more trips on both bus and rail. Rail ridership is nearly 40% of pre-pandemic levels, almost double what we experienced exactly 1 year ago this month. On the bus side, we're about 70% of pre-pandemic levels. And excited to announce that starting this Sunday, we're permanently adding 250 more daily bus trips across the region to improve service and respond to customer demand. Also noteworthy, as published last week, we installed the first automated wayside inspection system that will help test our 7K rail car wheel sets in real time. The installation is complete, and our team is going through training, testing, and commissioning as I speak. As part of this process, we've also received concurrence from the WMSC for the manual testing of the back-to-back measurement using a new digital tool as part of our overall 7000 series return to service plan. As we get through that training and testing, certainly we're moving deliberately to ensure we do this properly. We do expect for customers to see the first 7000 series back in service in June. Meanwhile, the NTSB investigation from the October derailment continues, and the root cause analysis also continues as part of the NTSB process. As previously noted, the analysis has not yet pinpointed a derailment, but to date, the investigation has found no evidence of failures related to maintenance or manufacturing of the equipment. And we do remain on schedule to return the fleet to passenger service later this summer. I wanted to comment on another priority that I mentioned, the Silver Line. I have asked Lynn Bowersox to lead the Silver Line startup and delivery, certainly a huge project for our customers in the region. In addition to her role leading the inauguration of Silver Line Phase 1, Lynn also has extensive experience delivering new rail services at Amtrak and New Jersey Transit. Together with Teresa and Pastato, our Chief Safety Officer, and the executive team, we are absolutely committed to delivering meaningful safety and service improvements for our customers in the region. As had been previously noted, we are commencing Phase 4 of our platform improvement project this coming weekend. So from Saturday through Labor Day, 5 Orange Line stations will be closed for platform reconstruction and station improvements. These stations include Minnesota Avenue, Deanwood, Cheverly, Landover, and New Carrollton. Free bus shuttles will be available to serve our customers, and parking is free for riders at those closed stations. Over the past few months, we've made a comprehensive outreach effort so our customers and community partners know what their options are during the shutdown. With just 2 days to go until the summer shutdown, customers can visit wamata.com/platforms to learn more about travel alternatives and sign up to receive our project newsletter. I want to publicly recognize the Capital team, to include our contractor partners, for delivering all prior of the 3 phases of these projects on schedule and under budget, and we fully intend to keep that positive trend on Phase 4. And thank you very much, sir. This concludes my remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roth. Any questions or comments for the interim GM? Dr. Lowe.
Mr. Off, I just want to laud how you are really hitting the ground running here and express my personal appreciation for that. You know, this is a time of transition, and what I've learned so far from the briefings that we've received is that we can't create a culture of safety with a culture of chaos, or with strictly taking punitive measures and looking for people to punish. So I really appreciate that you are identifying concrete actions that we can take moving forward in order to get everyone pulling in the same direction. I hope that we're also identifying the lessons learned that we need to learn and implementing corrective action plans that are going to result in change that really sticks.
Andy, you're on mute.
No, I'm sorry, and thank you, Dr. Lowe, and I absolutely appreciate the support. As I noted, I do feel privileged, to have this opportunity. I mean, as you've noted, we are making, meaningful and structural changes, to get after our primary deficiencies, and we'll continue to do that. And I do appreciate your support to give me the ability to move the needle. Thank you.
Thank you, and thanks for feeling the urgency of now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good points, Tracy, and lessons learned, very important. Sarah, then Ms. Klein, then Mr. Letourneau.
Hi, thank you very much. I really just wanted to also, and I hope I'm coming through clearly. I've got a different device today than usual.
No, you're
Great.
good, Sarah. Yeah.
I just wanted to thank Mr. Off again for what he's done last week, particularly with regard to the communications regarding the return to service of the 7,000 over the course of the summer, what we're doing on that front, the regular updates regarding the operators and the recertification. I think that it's very important for all of our stakeholders to have a very clear sense of what WMATA is doing on these fronts. And I think your communication has been very helpful to folks. And I just want to encourage us all, and you in particular, to kind of keep that up over the next several weeks, because there is a lot going on. And I think sometimes we're so busy doing the things that need to be done that we kind of forget to tell people what we're doing. So just wanted to pass that along, and thank you again for what you're doing.
No, thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Letourneau.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo my board colleagues. Metro is in good hands in this interim period. You have, along with Teresa and others, been tackling these issues head on. And the board's been very concerned about what we've seen, and certainly what occurred in several instances. We're paying close attention to what the MSC is saying and others. But you have really focused on those issues, particularly on the certification issue. The swift action that you took along with the safety officer to turn that around very quickly was much appreciated. And I also just want to mention for our stakeholders and the public, you have really been our lead, our point person on Silverline Phase 2 from a construction standpoint. And so, as I mentioned, when you were appointed as the interim GM, one of the reasons that made sense at this time is because of the work that we are nearing completion on, hopefully, with the Airports Authority on the Silver Line. And I know that has also been a focus of yours over the last week in particular. And you've had many conversations about that and have been working through the final set of issues. So thank you for that as well. And obviously, I'm very much looking forward to Randy starting, but I know that we're in good hands right now.
Thank you, sir. Much appreciated. And certainly, as you noted, it is absolutely a team effort. And thank you for your support.
Yeah, Mr. Off, it is definitely a team effort, and we really appreciate it. And I know one thing we especially appreciate is the transparency and the communication that's been coming from you, and highlighting us right away on that, and communicating things in a timely fashion. So we appreciate that very much. And speaking of lessons learned, we hope that continues. And I'm sure it will under Mr. Clark and yourself moving forward. All right. With no other comments, thank you, Mr. Off. We have 4 items on the board's consent agenda today, and I would like to move approval of the following items. First, drug-free workplace policy update. Staff seeks approval to update Metro's drug-free workplace policy in compliance with the FTA regulations. Updates include updated position titles and establishment of specific responsibilities for the Chief Medical Officer, the Senior Vice President of Human Capital, and department heads, which had previously been delegatable responsibilities by the General Manager. Second, equal opportunity employment and affirmative action policy update. Staff seeks approval to update Metro's equal employment opportunity and affirmative action policy. Updates include improvements to the process for reporting and investigating discrimination, harassment, and retaliation, clarifying the EEO officer's authority to mandate corrective actions, and creating a section on the confidentiality of the EEO process. Third, Metro Memorial Scholarship Fund. Staff seeks approval to amend the rules for Metro Memorial Scholarship Fund to allow more individuals to qualify for assistance. And last, and number 4, fiscal year 2023 through 2031, Virginia PREA funding agreement. Staff seeks approval for the general manager or the executive vice president, policy planning and program management to execute an agreement with the Virginia Department of Rail and Public Transportation to secure the local match for Passenger Rail Infrastructure Improvement Act, popularly known as PREA funding, from the Commonwealth of Virginia. The agreement will cover fiscal years 2023 through 2031. I would move approval of those 4 items. Can I get a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Letourneau. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, Ms. Ellison, please.
Sorry, I have one question.
Oh, yes, Ms. Dr. Lowe.
I'm so sorry. I agree with all these items. I just have one quick question about the drug policy.
Okay.
I didn't see anything in there about post-incident drug and alcohol testing. Do we document those requirements and policies somewhere else?
Mr. Off or Ms. Lee?
Sir, I would need to get back to yourself and Dr. Lowe. I'm not, I believe it is somewhere else as it is something we do quite frequently, but to be accurate, I would need to get back to you, ma'am.
Okay. And it's okay that it's somewhere else. I just, you know, some workplaces roll post-incident testing into this kind of, you know, thing that employees sign. And so I just wanted to make sure it was somewhere else.
Absolutely.
I would guess the chief safety officer probably knows the answer to this question.
Yes, I can confirm that it's in a different
Oh,
document.
Okay. It's covered. Great. Thanks.
all right. All right, Ms. Ellison.
Thank you. Chair Smedberg,
Aye.
Mr. Zappi,
Aye.
Ms. Klein,
Aye.
Mr. Letourneau,
Aye.
Dr. Lowe,
Aye.
Mr. Drummer,
Aye.
Ms. Martin Proctor.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The motion passes.
Thank you. All right, now we'll have reports by the jurisdictions. Mr. Letourneau, I don't have anything of immediate for NBTC this morning. Do you?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. District of Columbia, Dr. Lowe.
Yeah, hi. Sorry, I have just one thing for our jurisdictional update, which is that DDOT currently has 3 bus priority projects that are under construction, and another one that will start very soon. And that's in addition to 12 more that are in planning or design. So just wanted to flag for everyone that we'll be seeing construction on 16th Street Northwest between Arkansas Avenue and K Street, H Street Northwest between 13th and North Capitol, Minnesota Avenue Southeast between East Capitol and Pennsylvania Avenue, and Pennsylvania Avenue Southeast itself between 2nd and 13th Street. And in addition to those infrastructure improvements, which are going to help us reduce bus operating costs, the city has also designated Minnesota Avenue Southeast and Pennsylvania Avenue Southeast as transit and bicycle priority corridors. That designation does involve actual design and construction changes to the rights of way, including that DDOT will be constructing shared bus stops on Pennsylvania Avenue Southeast and a bus stop island on Minnesota Avenue Southeast. So these designs are new, and DDOT's going to be doing a lot of outreach with the accessibility community and with the general public in order to evaluate these proposed designs and how they're going to work. So look for that engagement from DDOT.
Thank you. Mr. Zappi, WSTC.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I don't have anything unless Mr. Drummer has something he'd like to add.
Nothing to report.
Okay.
Thanks.
And last, the federal government, Ms. Klein.
We have no report this week. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. With no further business to come before the board, we will stand adjourned and we'll move to executive session. In accordance with the bylaws, I, Paul Smedberg, request that the Board of Directors convene an executive session to discuss the following matters pursuant to Article 2, Paragraph 9, subsection C, personnel or labor matters, including discussions of labor contracts, labor negotiations, or interviews of candidates for employment, and the assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, or resignation of individuals. And D, contractual or other matters involving confidential or proprietary concerns or the investment of public funds where discussion in public would adversely affect the financial interest of WMATA. And F, safety or security matters where premature release would compromise public safety. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dr. Lowe. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much, and thank you for joining us this morning. Take care.